again. Thank you so much, Laura. In the investment world, we say cash is king, but on social media, content is king. And this is what we're going to be talking today about. And I would love to welcome our speakers, Charul, Jaitly, co-founder and managing partner at Maiti Group, as well as Suhel, Seth, managing partner, Counselage India Private, Vivek, Oberoi, head of Oberoi Family Office, and joining us online is Amish, Tripathi, best-selling author. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's hear a round of applause for our speakers. Please have a seat. Please have a seat. Thank you so much for joining us. And Amish, can you hear us loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you so much for making time to join us at IGF this year. I would love to start with a question addressed to all of you. I would love to hear your thoughts, starting with you, Charul. And social media sometimes can be a challenging place, and especially when it comes to when you're trying to build your brand, your social presence, and your social image. What are some of the challenges that you faced with regards to these topics?
Can you hear me well? Hello. Let me just engage with the audience for a second. Show me with a raise of hand how many of you are on social media. No, not all. Some people are not raising their hands. Either are they choosing not to tell us.
Okay, so who is not on social media?
Who is not on social media? Oh, wow.
But
we have a couple of people.
But she has some very severe reasons for not being there.
LinkedIn is also social media now.
It is. I have another question.
Baby
How many
steps.
of you have less than 5 handles on social media? Less than 5? Okay. That's a fair bit, right? So here are some interesting facts, right? Over 63% of population around the world is on social media. Perhaps numbers can go by a percentage here and there, but we all know, right? On an average, 8 handles are managed, operated, owned by every individual, right? It's a lot, right? If you put things in perspective, the very reason I'm sharing stage with some very commendable names on the stage here is because I leverage social media to do something for me that I wanted it to do, which is to build a brand. Now that comes with a price, and because the question is about challenges, I'm going to focus on that. I think there are some very, very strong and compelling reasons for us to be very cognizant of what goes on our handles. One, it becomes a social responsibility of who it is that you're representing and what it is that you're sharing. With 63% of population on social handles having access to over 8 handles on an average, can you imagine the impact you create by even one post that you make? I will let you do the maths, right?
And the post is forever.
Yes, and it's, thank you, right? It stays there forever, right? Unless, of course, you are Elon Musk and you decide to take something off, right?
Or Suhel Seth in India.
Or
Elon Musk and Suhel Seth are the only 2 people who can get away with anything.
Yeah, and I think the other responsibility is about the compliances. The regulation is very, very important. So the bodies like GDPR, CCPA, they're coming into place and telling us to put those checks and balances in place, I think is highly, highly critical. So for me, you know, regulation, responsibility, leveraging the mega trends to use it to your advantage, but kind of not stepping out of the boundary line of what is sane and what is not, has been the core principles that have allowed me to create the brand that I am today. So I'll take a pause there.
So I would love to hear from you, Vivek, as well.
Sure. Look, I think Charul is, of course, very knowledgeable and has deep insights into the technical aspects of challenges. But I'd like to focus more on the mental aspects of challenges. And not starting with the whole negative tirade, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, social media making life hell. But social media can do a lot of good too. But when you're setting up your social media, the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do I want this exercise to do for myself? Whether you're a company, whether you're an individual, what do you want to gain out of this? Are you trying to monetize this social media? Are you trying to be a content creator and make money as you sell it? How do you innovate on that? How do you become a clutter breaker? What makes it go viral? What do people want to see? So the 2 primary differences I realized is that one is taking an approach which says, what do people want to see? And the second is saying an approach which says, what do I want people to see? I think if you're building a brand, if you have a communication tool through social media, like most of my companies do, then it's about what we want them to see. And then if you're a content creator just looking to monetize people's time, because that's what it is, content is king and time is the new currency, right? So the whole idea is, how can I grab more eyeballs, capture more time? Because unfortunately, a lot of the youth today still believe that they have less money and more time. As they grow older, they'll realize it's inverted, right? So time's easily spent. It's an easily spent currency. But if I told somebody for every 5 minutes of watching Instagram, you had to pay $5, they would stop. They would be very focused on what they're spending their time on, because they haven't found the equation of time equals to money yet. We learn ROI, we learn ROE, return on equity, return on investment, but we don't learn ROTI, which is return on time invested, right? And in Indian, our mothers teach us roti very early.
So I have a question to you, Suhel, and as well as Amish. I work in media. It's only logical for me to have an account on social media. But for some people who have great careers and very successful, do they need to have an account on social media as well and have, like, I don't know, 100,000 followers and million of followers? Do they need it?
It depends. I mean, to each his own. Are you going to tell Donald Trump that he doesn't need a Twitter account? No. And will he listen to you? Certainly not. So it's an obtuse question to ask. Do they need a social media handle? If they think they need it, they need it. Narendra Modi has it. People in the UAE government have it. You have it. Amish Tripathi, who's a great author, has it. You have to understand that everyone uses tools for their own reasons. To say that, oh, I only use Instagram to build a brand is all bunkum. Half the jokers on Instagram are either non-branded people or talk rubbish. Half the guys on Twitter are twits. So it really doesn't matter. We all say, oh, these. You always recognize only one thing, that amplification in media can only get you this far and no further. Content is important if content is relevant. So I will talk from personal examples. I have 4.6 million followers on Twitter. Not one of them has been bought. A, because I can't afford it, and B, Vivek Oberoi hasn't yet given me part of his company. How do I use my Twitter feed? And Amish is witness to that. Many a time I tweet a brilliant book that Amish Tripathi may have written. But I always tweet when there is need for blood. So if anyone says that we are running short of A positive or O positive or whatever it is, will you tweet? I do that.
I love that, man.
I love dogs. I love my pets. So I always tweet whenever there is any atrocity against pets, or when we need help with relocating, stray pets. But most of the time, I'm screwing people for their stupidity on Twitter. And I love it.
So,
Does it make me... 1 minute, I haven't finished.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's just
So sorry.
You see, you're a good
He's
human
warming
being.
up.
Don't be like these BBC people who interrupt, because we are from India. We invented the Kama Sutra. We know multiple positions. So the other thing is...
Don't interrupt when I'm interrupting.
Oh, okay, you're interrupting. He's forgiven. So I want to just say one more thing. Social media is like a knife. You can use it to kill, or you can use it to butter your toast. You decide what you want to do with it. Now, a lot of people are using, and as Charul said, a lot of people are using social media to present their perspectives if they are individual brands, or present the perspectives of companies. Is social media being misused? Like everything else. Is social media being abused? Like everything else. You have trollers on social media? Of course you do. But that's if you allow them that space. So I have a rule. I never block anyone. If someone abuses, I follow Mahatma Gandhi. I abuse them back with greater fervor. They give me one cheek, I take two away. Do I believe that social media has a great role to play? Of course. Does it have a pernicious role to play? Yes. I don't think social media is dead. What is dead is the revitalization of our conscience. So people on social media must be, as she rightly said, they must be responsive, they must be responsible, and they must be held to account. Because you cannot incite rioting, you cannot create a fake narrative, or to quote someone who met me outside, narrative, and you cannot have someone actually muddy the waters because they think it's important to make a point. That's the limited point. Yes, Amish, now you may interrupt at will.
Now, I just wanted to kind of summarize what you were saying, and it's about creating a positive impact.
Not at all. You haven't summarized it at all. I said there will be negativity, there will be positivity, to each his own. And this
No,
is the
but
first
I
time
mean,
that someone
but
has tried to summarize me. But I'm glad that you've made that attempt. Because I thought I was very crystal clear in terms of what the points were.
Yes, they are crystal clear, but I'm just trying to highlight.
Crystal and clear.
It's all right.
No,
you're
listen,
okay. It's the
I'm
first
just
time.
joking,
No,
yeah.
let's move.
These
I know.
people have paid me 10 dirhams each. They've said 10 dirhams if you can make us laugh. They've been in boring sessions all day. That's what I'm doing.
I love that. And I'm just trying to pick up something to take to Amish to talk about.
Amish doesn't need anything, my dear. He's one of India's finest authors. He's born and he will die in fiction. So don't worry about Amish.
Even if you don't ask Amish a question, he'll have 600 pages of answers. for
Okay,
you.
so let's
That's why I wanted to come in before Amish. Remember, one guy wrote the Ramayana. He's written 6 versions of that. He's Valmiki's pop.
so
Oh, dude.
let me just put it in 2 words. Amish, to you.
That's 3. That's 3.
Thank you.
Again, I'm summarizing you. Amish to you is 3.
All right, thank you. That was beautifully done. Look, what I think Vivek and Suhel really summarized it perfectly. Social media is a tool. As Charu said rightly, some can use it to build their brand. I have seen Suhel and Vivek use their following on social media for a lot of positive stuff. I always notice Suhel's tweet on blood donation and various other issues. Vivek, I'm sure you're aware, does wonderful charity work, particularly for children. And look, social media is a tool. It can be used for positive things, as they do. And yes, you have enough idiots who use it for negative as well. You can't uninvent social media. It's going to be here always. It's up to us what we want to do with it. I don't think we can force others on what they should do with it. The way I approach social media is, firstly, I've been forced by my publisher to open accounts because they needed to promote my books. I rebelled after I opened my Instagram account. After that, I refused to open any more. I think there's some more new now, Blue Sky and some other stuff. Like I'm not opening any more accounts. The other thing is that I use Twitter to follow people who I find interesting. So I rarely respond to trolls or people saying silly stuff. That's a waste of time. You're wasting energy. But you can actually find truly interesting people whose opinions can add to your understanding of the world. One of the things I like to do, however, it's a strategy I like to have. If I follow anyone on Twitter, Instagram, who could be considered, say, left wing, I always follow a right wing guy for balance. I like to ensure that I'm hearing on balance both sides because the truth usually lies somewhere in the center.
What kind of disturbs me is that now we have people who only depend on social media and content creation on social media as their career. Like
Why is it disturbing? I mean,
That's not a bad
because
thing.
it sets
Why
it
is that a bad
sets
thing?
yeah, because it sets an unrealistic target and purpose for the young generation that I don't need to do much. I can just sit at home, create content, be an influencer, talk about makeup, talk about only.
It's not entirely true, to be honest. I mean, if you look at, have you read about what's happening in the short form content world, which is emanated from social media? So if you look at Kuaishao, which is
This is the positive.
Quick Hand
This
in
is
China,
this is the
is
positive
a
side.
multi-billion-dollar story with microdramas. Now, how does the microdrama formula work? It's 30 to 120 seconds an episode. multiplied by 100 episodes for a story. Now, when I go through a script like Inside Edge, which is written for 40-minute, content pieces, for us to bring in cliffhangers, right, that keep you hooked to say, oh my God, I got to watch the next episode. It's very difficult to keep that creativity. They have to do it every 120 seconds because in the first 10, you're hooked. You want to watch the next one, and then you start paying from, 50 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents to consume each one. Now, this has become a potentially $10 billion industry as we speak today, one of the top industries in China, Korea, Japan, and coming into India very quickly. For example, Kuku FM is doing, 100 crores right now in revenue, mostly through this kind of structure with micro pieces of content. So to keep it engaging, to bring in your creativity, to shoot it in a vertical format so that people can consume it within 30 to 120 seconds, and then make revenue based on the merit of that narrative and storytelling is creating a whole new form of content.
This
I
is
think
the positive. This is
part.
amazing.
But it's a big part.
And this is playing
Like Suhel
a
said,
beautiful
it's a
and
knife.
value-added part.
No, but why
It's
are
a
you
knife.
disturbed? I'm very disturbed about the fact that you're disturbed.
I'm disturbed
Because
because
that points to a certain turbulence mentally. That's what
I'll
I'm
tell you
worried
why.
about.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because I see teenagers who are creating content that has no value. It just goes viral because it doesn't carry any value, and it sets unrealistic targets for even the younger generation. And just because it goes viral and because it's monetized, they believe that this is what they want to do when the others grow up.
if
So
I may.
this
But
is
let's go in a structure.
If I
Because
may.
again, like yesterday, I'll be left out in round 2. So now let her go, then I'll finish.
Yes, sir.
If it takes more time, so be it.
Okay.
This bloody sitting at the end, we always get left out, yeah? And that poor guy will not be seen.
Why don't I let you go first?
No, you
I'll
go
finish.
I'm
first.
going to lose my internet.
This
connection.
guy broke.
please.
Typical actors, they break the sequence.
Sorry.
okay.
I was disturbed by the fact that she was disturbed.
Now everybody is worried about my disturbance.
Sure. I'd like to bring about the fact here how I calibrate my content. So when I started, like everyone else, perhaps not everyone, but people that I know, you start to create a lot of content that you think you want to share versus what people want to see. I made the same mistake. So I'm choosing to be extremely vulnerable. And as I continued to grow my social media presence, I decided, or I understood or calibrated myself, I can be either of three. This is my own calibration. I can either be a content creator, or I can be an influencer, or, which I choose to be, I can be a change maker. Now, it sounds very idealistic, but I put only 2 scales to all these 3 calibrations. What are the 2 scales? One is the value and the quality of the content, and the other is the impact that I want to create with it. And that brings me to my third category, which is a change maker, because although I might not be making a lot of content, but I choose to make a huge positive impact with whatever content I make. And you could be on the first category, which is a content creator, and you could be churning a lot of content, but you could not be making any impact whatsoever. And that's fine. That's fine. From where I sit to the examples you gave, believe me, it's not only the young adults, there are adults, 60 plus and whatnot, who have so much of time on their hands, and they could be making handles showing their age as below 16 or whatever, and they could be posting some rather silly content, right? So it is in the data that we really find out who is posting what. But if you start to be responsible, and if you know what it is that you want the social media to do for you, and you calibrate your content, I think it's the day and age of digitization. If you're not on social media, you're missing the train, my friend. So I take a pause there. Are you happy with the speed and the quality of my
Well,
answer, sir?
it was a bit long-winded, but doesn't matter. Just to take off from where she left. You and I are not the arbiters of intellectual calibration.
I love it.
No one has died and left you, boss. You don't like someone's content, don't see it. You can't say, oh, she's talking about makeup, that will destroy teenagers. Have you commented on parenting? How many books, not you, how many books do people read today? I'm 61, I read 1 book a day, a proper book. Not, some comic floating around. So it all depends on your caliber and your moral compass, A. B. We are no one to judge how people make money as long as they're not breaking the law. Well, if they were selling cocaine on Instagram, I'd be worried. Actually, I wouldn't be worried. I'd be worried for the jokers buying it. But you cannot say, oh, you mustn't do this, you must. The days of being moral compasses for the rest of humanity are over. People will do what they do. You should be less disturbed and more exalted and exhilarated at the progress that mankind is making, because at the bottom of it all, social media is a democratic, egalitarian tool.
Absolutely.
It allows for the unheard to be heard, the voiceless to voice, and the silent to speak. That, to my mind, is a great contribution. It is up to your intellect and your level of discrimination to be able to determine whether this is good, bad, indifferent, fake, real. No one is asking you, no one is holding a gun to your head saying, look, since you're disturbed, you must not see this content. Don't see it. Everyone has the power to say no. But the power to prevent people from being on social media must not be given to any human being. And that's why what Elon Musk did after he got Twitter, changed it to X, was he made the medium less fractional and less fractious. He made it more egalitarian. That's what we need. We need more voices to be heard. We come from a civilizational legacy, my dear, where we have tolerated dichotomies of ideas. That's why we are who we are. You live in the United Arab Emirates.
So well said.
The history of the UAE is superb. Today, Dubai is a melting pot, not just economically, but of cultures, of civilizations. I think this is the time to celebrate. It is not the time to be despondent and cynical. And I hope you are less disturbed now.
Okay,
Okay, Amish, I would like.
If
Yes,
I can
Amish.
add, completely agree with the point Suhel has made. Regrettably, the problem is I have very little to add to what he said. He's right. Social media has made it a conversation. Mass media earlier used to be a sermon from the mount, right? And the voiceless have a right to say what they want to say as well. The only thing I would add to this, that those among the youngsters who see being an influencer or on social media as a great way to make money, it can be challenging. They need to be aware of that, right? There are some influencers who make tons of money. Many actually don't make enough to pay the bills at the end of the day. The reality in today's day is, if your purpose is to make money, to make a living, not to be famous. If you want to be famous, social media is a great place. If your purpose is to make a living, many of the so-called boring industries are actually a lot better. Plumbers in the UK are making more money than journalists, right? Ball bearings, those kind of things which we used to laugh at. You get into a career on that, you'll actually make a decent living, good money. Manufacturing, things like that. So it depends on what you want to do. If your aim is to be famous, nothing wrong with it. Go on social media. Just be
Amish,
aware.
let
of
me
it.
ask you this. What kind of content would you like to see on social media as an author?
You know, the beauty of social media, can I just say this? The beauty of social media is I get to decide. Look, I don't want to, I like to read different points of view. I like to read on geopolitics. I like to read on philosophies. So now I would read books of those things earlier. I would read scientific journals. I would read things like that. But I can find that content on social media as well. Someone else wants to read on makeup, their choice. I'm not going to read it. Someone else wants to read it. They can find it on social media. That's the beauty of this conversation. It's up to the listener. It's up to the watcher. We can pick what we want to learn about.
Had vada pav?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever had vada pav?
Yes.
So now, if you look at YouTube videos of vada pav, it will bring you to a state of exalted glory. All the disturbance will go. Because that's what I like to see. I like to see how food is made, vada pav, pav
That's beautiful.
bhaji,
That's
mutton
beautiful.
curry. We are not interested in who's killing who, because we'll see the blood in any case.
Okay, let me ask you this. I would like to hear your thoughts around it. Do you think that we, as a human race, are more connected today with social media than, I don't know, 50 years ago?
To my mind, that is the best question you've asked all evening, and I'll tell you why. No, I'll tell you why. Look at the advent of man. The advent of man began with tribalization. we have returned to tribalization. We work within our own clusters. So you have your Instagram family, your Facebook family. Unwittingly, unknowingly, we have gone back to tribalization. We feel comfortable in non-threatening environments. We feel our way of attack or our way of revenge is by blocking people. So in many ways, we have returned to tribalization. It is not about interconnected, it's about interdependency. So I don't think we are connected because also, as Amish rightly said, social media has also become a tool of non-acceptance of contrarian views. And remember, my dear, what's your name?
May, my name is May.
May as in the month? Yes. Okay. Remember one thing, May, that come September, you will have to figure out only one thing. You can disagree without being disagreeable. And that will lead to the winter of content.
Thank you so much, sir. A round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm
Thank
sorry
you,
about
ma'am.
our time.
No, we will take more time.
Suhel,
You
I'm
want
going to
more
use
time?
that line somewhere. I like it.
Thank you so much.